Good morning, everybody. We are back. It is the right side of campus. We are live Tuesday, March 27, 2018. I'm your host, the big man on campus here, getting you ready for another day in sports. Got the NIT tournament going on tonight. Got all sorts of stuff. Final Four on Saturday, baseball Thursday, lot going on. Donnie Rightside, how you doing today?
Hey, doing pretty good today, Wake up, rise, and shine. Had a nice, easy day off yesterday. Jeff just did a, show in the morning, had a little bit of a filming in the afternoon, but not much on TV last night. I know the Dons won last night, but I really wasn't tuned into that. But you're right, got some good Final Four action tonight. Got some good Final Four action actually on Saturday, which you'll be viewing live entertainment down there, so you have some fun. But yeah, we're here, we're ready to go, Jeff. Maybe the weather in the Northeast will start to change up a little bit because baseball is right on the horizon.
Yep, Thursday we get going, so we'll chat about that a little bit more on Thursday when we'll get back to bringing down some of the card. We did that last year. We'll get back to doing some of it this year. But obviously, Donnie, we'll start with morning headlines. Welcome into anyone out there listening. We hope you enjoy the show. Go ahead and hit the like button. Let us know you're out there, and if you can, share the show on Twitter, retweet it, favorite it, do what you can. It's a great way to get it out to people that don't see it on a regular basis. So please do that. Let's get into the first couple headlines here. UConn women head back to the Final Four, and again, not sure why this is news, Donnie, for anyone. I
Yes.
think they made the Final Four 11 straight years. It's really pretty unbelievable, frankly. I mean, they're just better than everyone else. They look at last night. I mean, South Carolina is a good basketball team. Dawn Staley's done a nice job there. I mean, they covered 18 by a mile. Impressive work by UConn. Again, it's kind of anymore, you know, to watch it. It's kind of a waste just because they kill everybody. But yeah, UConn moving on. You got to imagine they'll be they'll win it by a mile this year because of losing last year.
No, yeah, it was. I was being really facetious with that. Back to the Final Four. It's a big thing. We have to worry about how much they're going to win by. What they win by, like 30 points last night over, I think, like a 2 seed or whatever it was with South Carolina. But just rolling through and blasting through dynamite. And I get it. You hear the UConn crowd, Jeff. Well, tell everybody to get up to our game. It's not really good for the game when you have. It's nice every once in a while, Jeff. Right? Maybe once every 20 years, you have an undefeated team make a run and they're dominant. And you want to check in. But nobody's really checking into women's basketball when you already know what the winner's going to be. And don't give me 2 years ago. Well, they got upset 2 years ago. That's fantastic. And you know why it had decent ratings? Because they were about to get upset. If you don't know they're losing, you're not going to tune in.
Right. I mean, think about it in college basketball. If like one team just won every year, I mean, no one would care. I mean, that's kind of where there's so much parity in men's college basketball. In women's, there's just not. I mean, it's just one team and that's it. And they're laying 50 points in games, and it's just brutal. I don't care about it. None of us care about it, and this is why. If it was a little bit more interesting and had some parity, yeah, and of course we'd watch it.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Zeke Upshaw passed away. This is kind of a
Yeah.
sad story. I don't. I didn't hear about this really until recently. Um, I do remember. I think Zeke Upshaw played at Hofstra at one point. But he passed away during a G League game. There was only about 40 seconds left in the game. Um, you see this stuff once in a while. This, where people, collapse at a game for no apparent reason, and you know, very sad story, Donnie. A young kid. He was only in his, early 20s, I believe. I think he was like 24, 23, 24. Grand Rapids Drive he played for. Um, he was rushed to a hospital, died a few days later. Very, very sad story, Donnie.
No, yeah, you know what it reminds a lot of? Jeff hits hard and hits it right at home. Hank Gav is one of the best players to ever come out of Philadelphia, who actually played at Loyola Marymount. Similar situation, enlarged heart, went down on the court, came back to play a couple weeks later, and then died a short time later after collapsing on the court again. It's a shame because you never know. A lot of times, Jeff, this stuff goes undiagnosed in these athletes, and you never know till it's too late. But you never want to see that happen. A lot of times you hear about this in like different situations, like high school football where you're practicing in 95-degree heat, somebody collapses from exhaustion. But stuff like this, it's really painful because you never know when it's going to happen, and it's scary when it does. And it's often too late by the time it gets diagnosed. Sometimes you go through and you get lucky, Jeff, and maybe you make it to like the NBA Combine where they can actually give you the EKGs or whatever, those stress tests on your heart to actually find it out. Because I believe it's happened a few times heading into the draft. But sometimes these players that just, get a little bit under the radar, they feel good. And you're not going to tell you like, hey, man, I'm not feeling that good to play today. They're going to get out there and play because this is what their job is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just trying to make it to the league, trying to,
Yeah.
trying to stay relevant, and yeah, very, very sad story. Hopefully, his family finds closure in that. But yeah, very, very odd. He's comes out of a timeout, stumbles, and then's lying face down. So rest in peace to him here on a Tuesday. Donnie, also quick NBA point. LiAngelo Ball has declared for the NBA draft. That's just coming through the wire here. I see the LiAngelo Ball trending on Twitter, and I had to think something happened. So, yes, according to his agent, he will enter the NBA draft. Keep in mind, in Lithuania, he's averaging 24 points a game, 4 rebounds a game, and 40% from three. Donnie, what are your percentage chance that LiAngelo Ball gets drafted?
0% chance from what I'm assuming now. I mean, hey, you said it all along, Jeff. You're more knowledgeable than I am on the situation. You probably would agree that the first and the third kid are more talented than the middle kid. Just because the first and the third are possible NBA prospects doesn't mean the second kid should be in the NBA as well. But there's a lot of ways you can make money overseas, Jeff. And let's be frank about this. Whether or not you agree with LeVar Ball, what he does or what he doesn't do with his kids, marketability goes a long way in playing outside the NBA. So maybe he can have a 10-year career overseas, Jeff, just because of the name,
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be at the Pro Basketball Combine in May at IMG. That's going to be a chance for him to really kind of show what he has. Not playing in college, was a bit of a concern, but here's what I will say about LiAngelo Ball, and look, he's a good kid. I know he had the issue over in China, but he's a nice kid. He comes from a good family, obviously. He can shoot the ball. I mean, he's a good shooter. That's one of his things he does really well. He's a pretty decent wing defender, something that NBA teams always need. But again, I've seen him play in Lithuania. Again, the competition is not great. He is playing okay competition. He's playing at a good level, but he's going to have to prove himself considerably. I don't think he'll make the NBA. I don't think he's an NBA player. Keep in mind, though, he's only 19. But yes, the younger brother has, to me, a much better chance of being drafted. But Donnie, I have to bring one thing up. They have that
Yes.
Facebook show. I watch it. I watch it every week, and there was an episode last week where they were, as a team, they went to this cryotherapy lab in
Hmm.
Lithuania. They did like a team bonding thing, and LeVar's basically a coach now, so he was there with them, and they're over at this cryotherapy thing, and obviously you have to strip down to go into it, and I guess LiAngelo Ball got all these tattoos, and his father didn't know about it. Like he didn't know that he had them. So he walks in and he starts taking his clothes off like to the camera, and he goes, "Oh no!" He goes, "I forgot my father doesn't know about these tattoos. He's not gonna be happy." So he walks in, and LeVar's face when he walks in with the tattoos, you would have thought he killed somebody. The way he looked at him, he was so mad that the kid got the tattoos and didn't tell him. He said, "Oh, you're not going to live in my house, oh bull." He was very annoyed. Let me ask you, if your kid got a tattoo and without telling you, what would you think? Would you be all right with it? It's pretty normal now,
Yeah,
right?
no, it's part of growing up. As long as you didn't do something dumb like,
We lost him.
Think we lost Donnie. We'll have to get him back here. Hopefully Donnie comes back. Yeah, look, I think nowadays tattoos aren't too bad, but yeah, LeVar did not like that. Um, I'll answer a question or two before we get him back here. Any thoughts on Poland? I'm not really. I'm kind of done with friendlies. I'm gonna just stay away from them. I think I'm 2-4 in friendlies. Just haven't really had a ton of luck with them. Premier League will be back this weekend. I'm gonna just now that basketball's winding down, I'm gonna take a wind down with soccer until Saturday. So no, I don't have any opinion on friendlies. There's no opinion on friendlies. I mean, you go with what you think, and that's that. Uh, Mr. Say 10 back. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Um, no facial tattoos. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't want that either. What else do we got here? Um, somebody says Leandro will be in the G League. Yeah. Ball does not get drafted. LOL. Okay. I don't think anyone said he would. We were just speculating on it. I'm all I'm saying is I think he's a very good shooter. Who knows? He's improving his game, and yeah, right now I don't think he's an NBA player. No. Um, Trey Burke is looking good. Yes, he has. MLB plan. What is it? I don't know. I'm not sure. You can email me, man. We can chat. I don't know. Probably play of the day, I guess. I don't know if is that big a deal right now. Hello from Portugal. What's up, Portugal? How are you? Hope you're doing well. The MLB is a fickle, fun little business, and we will attack it just the way we did in college basketball. Um, where is Donnie? Is he back yet? Do we have him? No. Uh, Big man, this is an early time slot for us West Coast. Yeah, good point. That's a good point. I totally forgot about that. If you're on the West Coast, it's a little tough at 7 a.m. I'm holding a nice plus 10,000 ticket on Loyola. Cool, good. Glad to hear it.
Plus 10 G's.
I'm also
Damn.
yeah, I'm actually on that as well. I have a
Nice.
small ticket on that same team. Um, let's get back here, Donnie. Uh, Markel Fultz is back for the Sixers and came very
Yeah.
surprisingly, right? Who thought that would have happened? Markel Fultz, 10 points last night, 8 assists. Nice game for Fultz. A lot of it was done in injury time and garbage time, but he was able to you know help himself out early. He got an easy bucket. Um, didn't really have the ability to shoot the ball. He shot the ball once or twice. Didn't look like a great shot. But I think, to be honest, I thought the one shot, his first shot was tipped. But what do I know? He's going to have to, work on that. But I will say he is a weird individual. I will say that he's kind of odd. His press conferences, he doesn't really. He still hasn't made anything clear as to what happened and why he was out the whole time. I don't know if we'll ever hear that. Um, what are your thoughts on
Yeah, it was.
on
I mean, it was
Markel
good to
Fultz?
see him back. I actually didn't think he'd be back on the court this year. But going back to your points on after, he just is a weird individual, and that's why it took 5 to 6 months. I still question the fact if he was ever injured at all, or was it just something in his head, or. I mean, you see the mannerisms. It's not the fired up excitement. It's always like a blank face, a blank stare on the court, not much emotion out there. And then after the game, they just ask him a simple question like, "Hey, your shoulder injury." All I had to do was say, yeah, it took a while to come back, but I wanted to do it slow, wanted to do it the right way. And I feel really good about my game, looking forward to the future. And that would have been the end of the questioning. How about answering a question? How about when they just ask you something that says, hey, how's your shoulder injury? And you just go blank and don't even answer the question at all. Something really wrong with the kid upstairs.
Yeah, I will say though, I mean, he's young. He's I don't think cares a ton about the media. I don't think he has any interest in being in the public eye. I think that's clear with him. But I like the kid's game. I think I just think basketball's easy for the kid. I mean, he's good with the basketball. I like his game overall, but he is very nonchalant with the basketball. Like when he dribbles, it's like very nonchalant. If you notice that, Donnie, like
Yeah.
when he has the
Yeah.
ball in his hands, it looks like it's easy for him. But yeah, I think overall it went well. I mean, if they can get him to give you 10 points a night, that's only going to give you more depth off the bench, Donnie.
Yeah, getting tired. Look at that. You're tired of talking about Markel Fultz. No, everything does come easy. He's a kid. He's extremely talented, but you do have to have that killer instinct, want to get better, want to be on the court at crunch time. And I do like to see a little bit of emotion out there. What do you get out of, Joel Embiid each and every night? A lot of emotion. You can tell he cares about the game. I'm not saying Markel Fultz at all doesn't care about the game. That's not what I'm trying to see, but I'm just waiting to see, taking a wait and see approach to see how his career path, excuse me, trajects from here.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. He's an interesting player, and the Sixers. It would be nice to have him, in the playoffs when they get there because they're going to the playoffs. By the way, uh, let's uh,
Yes.
let's let's move it down here, Donnie. I'll let you have at it with this segment. NFL. You have plenty on this. What do we got going on in the NFL right now with the NFL Wire?
Yeah, we'll wait for that ticker to slide down over. NFL Wire goes bonkers because some interesting stuff's popping up here, Jeff, left and right in the NFL. Of course, we're structured and settled in here on March Madness, and I'll see how that goes. Let me see if I can bring up my own notes here since my computer crashed on me until that comes down. Give it a second.
Okay, Johan, you can go ahead and move that down, man. We're good. There you go.
All right, yes, trade OBJ, Jeff. If you haven't seen anything coming up in the latest press releases and what's out there, the Giants, sitting in that, 2 hole right now, could get possibly something for Odell Beckham Jr. But what is he really worth at this point, Jeff? I mean, if you're going to say, we're going to trade you now, but OBJ, and you don't need a upgrade on your salary, meaning going from like $3 to $4 million up to $20 million or $20 million plus at this point, what is his value worth on the market? If it's me and you could trade him without having a contract loophole, or him wanting to get a massive increase in his salary, you could probably get a first rounder for OBJ. But trading him now when he wants to be paid more than Kirk Cousins, it seems, I don't really know what you get if you even get a 7th round pick, even though the amount of talent that he has. I want to see how the Giants settle in this one because you saw, Jeff, if you're reading anything up, he's not stepping foot on any football field, any practice field, anything until his contract is upgraded with a massive extension, Jeff.
Yeah, good for him. Hopefully he gets everything he, I don't have a problem with the kid. I think he's a great receiver. I guess I'm kind of behind on OBJ and some of these moves, Donnie. I'll admit, I'm sorry, I'm behind on this stuff.
Yeah, no, the Giants are putting out the feelers out there. Like, if you want him, come get him because he's just too big of a headache for us at this point, and we're watching him. And now you're at that point where it's okay, Jeff, to be a headache when you make like $3-4 million a season. You can't be a headache when you're trying to ask for 20 to 25 million. But I mean, and breaking up the entire team.
What receiver's not a headache? I mean, I don't really get what's he a headache about? Like, because he wants money.
Well, no, see, I mean, who cares until he tests positive or something? I mean, NFL players are going to smoke weed, hang out with models, do whatever they do in their off season. We know that, and that's not really what the issue is here. But the issue is going to be is how much of a headache can you be? And the headache is not always, Jeff, on the field or off the field, but it's what you're willing to put up with. If you say, Odell, hey, come into play, we'll pay you $10 million guaranteed per year for the next 5 years. Nobody would have a problem and they wouldn't call Odell Beckham a headache. The problem is, Jeff, when you say, like, I want to be the centerpiece and I want to get paid more than the quarterback, that's what you have to balance. Because if there's no salary cap in the NFL, Jeff, pay him whatever he wants because it really doesn't matter. You're in New York, you're making money hand over fist as it is. But a hard cap or, the cap that they have situation in the NFL, you can't make that much money at this point. You just can't have a full balanced team.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I hear you. I will say and I know we're going to talk about Ndamukong Suh. Now, this makes a bit more sense for Ndamukong Suh. Putting him on the same line as Aaron Donald, this makes a lot more sense than Miami randomly, giving you $100 million and say, okay, go make plays for us.
No, it's really, I like what the Rams are doing because if you see the MO, Jeff, of the new NFL right now, it's get your young quarterback who's a really good football player. You have him for 4 to 5 years before you have to pay him $30 million, and you can splurge on everybody around him and try to make that run. The Philadelphia Eagles actually did that, Jeff, but it's funny because Wentz wasn't even the guy that led them to the Super Bowl, but theoretically, you had Wentz on a contract where he's getting paid like $4 to $5 million, and in 2 years, Wentz is going to be paid $30 million a year, and you can't splurge. You just hope at that point that he's good enough to carry a team minus maybe 1 or 2 playmakers down the road because he does make that much. I love what the Rams are doing. There's only so few opportunities that you can seize and get after and win a Super Bowl. They're now Super Bowl contenders, legitimate Super Bowl contenders with the offseason moves. I really like what they did. But McVay is going to be in for it. There's a lot of talent on that team, Jeff, but also a lot of guys that you're going to have to keep in line.
Yeah, no, hey, contracts are part of the game, bro. That's what you have to do sometimes. Yeah. Like, quickly with contracts, with like Scott Kingery, Reese Hotkins can't be too happy about that, right?
Yeah, it's really an interesting thing because I guess it's that new money. Now that Middleton's in there, they're going to run the system a new way. the fact that Kingery never came up or never played in the majors as opposed to what he's going to be opening day is really a unique and interesting situation. Because usually, Jeff, you get that little taste. They bring you up midway through the season or they bring you up through September call-ups. They were so scared to lose a year on Kingery, they didn't even bring him up mid-season when the Phillies stunk or in September when nothing mattered at all and the clock would just start like a Super 2 or Super 3 free agent, whatever they actually call it. But you're right. They did have a couple videos yesterday down there, the young kids that are in that same sort of boat, but not getting that contract. Like, hey, where are we going? Del Frisco today, you owe us a lot because now you're actually getting paid actual real money when we're still sitting back here. We're going to have to fight through arbitration to do that. It's an interesting move because down in Atlanta, the Acuna kid, Jeff, he turned down a similar deal to what Scott Kingery had, just banking on saying, I'm just better than everybody. I'm going to ride this out and really enjoy my free agent years once my arbitration years are done. But I can't fault Kingery. Can you, Jeff? Overnight, no matter what happens, he's going to pocket at least $25 to $30 million. And then when he's what, Jeff, 29, 30 years old, and he hits that free agent market, can cash in for another $100 million plus if he's a good player. I can't fault him for doing that and giving away a couple years.
No, it's very risky for sure. I don't really know what the thinking pattern there is. Back to Ndamukong Suh. Sue will get in trouble in LA, LOL. Come on, man. When has he ever been in trouble? That's a bit.
I mean,
of a
he's had some
stretch.
road rage incidents, some dumb stuff, but you're right. He's not out there in the streets maiming and mugging at this point. I think he's grown up quite a bit from when he first came into the league. So I think he'll be all right. And it's only a one-year deal. They're not invested, Jeff, for $150 million over 5 years.
Ndamukong means House of Spears, by the way, Donnie. If you were curious.
He is Spear. I don't doubt.
Very interesting. What else do we have going on, Donnie, in NFL country?
Yeah, Brown's looking at possibly trading the first overall pick. And why not, Jeff? Let's just play the analytics games because if you have the first and the fourth pick, why not just trade them both and get like 75 seventh-round picks and just stack your roster up? The Browns, you're trash. You are garbage. There is a reason why you have 2 first-round picks, number 1 and number 4. Take the best players available at 1 and 4. Don't trade back. Don't do anything. And you know what, Browns? Why don't you just take 2 quarterbacks at 1 and 4 while you're at it? Maybe you'll hit on that. Maybe you'll have your franchise quarterback because you would already be on your way if you just kept Carson Wentz. Thank you, Jesus, Cleveland. You traded him to Philadelphia. You might be drafting in the top 5 for the next 10 years for all I know. They do have a lot of draft picks, Jeff, but draft picks don't turn into superstars on the field as we've seen because they've been swinging and missing a lot at the plate. The only good thing, Jeff, that looking at Cleveland, if they're looking to move around, at least they have a real GM this time and not Mr. Moneyball Baseball behind the scenes running that organization. So maybe there is some hope for the Cleveland Browns here moving forward.
I think there is. I mean, you got 2 picks in top 5. They're not going to. Don't trade anything. Keep it. Take Barkley. Take Bradley Chubb maybe or someone like that. I think you'd be in like Flint, Donnie, or quarterback, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. The choice is theirs. Maybe you take Barkley and you take quarterback. I'm excited to see what the Browns do.
Yeah, no, it should be fun there. And Dez getting cut, question mark there. We saw, I believe it was Terrence Newman, not Terrence Newman, the other wide receiver slipping my mind for the Cowboys, went down with a foot injury. The Cowboys signed 2 wide receivers right behind it, but they're going back and forth with Dez. And I agree here with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Dez isn't the Dez of, 3-4 years ago at this point, more of a distraction, making a ton of money and won't take a pay cut. I don't think they lose that much, Jeff, if they move on from Dez Bryant, replace him with a quality, capable wide receiver, maybe even draft a wide receiver in round 1. Sometimes I think it's a little bit more headache at this point, especially at the money that Dez Bryant makes.
Yeah, he had a terrible year last year. He's just slowly gotten worse over his career and become a bit of a, just a regular guy. Donnie, any other moves that we have to be made aware of here?
Yeah, real quick. The Vikes, Rams, and the Eagles, Jeff, opened up all 10-1 favorites to win the Super Bowl. The NFC, now the power conference, in control. We'll see how it plays out. But, Jeff, those 3 teams, man, pretty formidable heading into next football season.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year in the NFC. Obviously, the Eagles coming off the Super Bowl, but the Vikings will be out for blood. They've improved. Rams have improved as well. Yeah, it'll be a fun season down the road in the NFL. Lines will be out, I'm sure, at some point soon as well. Donnie, NIT coming up tonight. You got 2 games. What do we have for lines, and what are we thinking?
Yeah, looking at the SBRodds.com board here, Jeff. First one, 7 o'clock gets starting underway. And again, this is the Final Four. It's not on anybody's home court. It shifts over to New York City. Madison Square Garden's going to take center stage tonight, 777, 778. Western Kentucky and Utah, Jeff, opened up at a pick 'em, but now you're seeing a line shift. I know you've been high on the Hilltoppers all year long. -2 at most outlets out there. Intertop showing a -1.5 at this point now. Are you leaning any certain situation here? Because, guys, we know it's the NIT, a little bit different there with the foul situation, a little bit longer three-point shot, a little bit wider lane here, Jeff. But I know you've been eyeing up Western Kentucky. Think they can keep that good mojo going? Because, hey, Utah's a pretty good basketball team.
Yeah, I was high on West. I still am, but I got to be honest. This is not the particular matchup I wanted to see. I actually think Utah will win and cover this game. Obviously, they'll win, they'll cover. Yeah, I think Utah will win. I'm actually pretty high on Utah as well. I like this team also, and they went to a zone recently, and it's been really effective. Really over a month or so. They've improved that defense, and Kristoviak's made it clear that's their goal. Yeah, they've done well in both these games so far, with LSU and with St. Mary's. And look, I think they are a little bit more inclined to be able to play in games like this. Big time games, big time stadiums. They are a bit of in a bit better of a conference. They are adept to doing that a little bit more. David Collette back for Utah. I like the guards that Utah have: Justin Bibbins, Barfield. They're a pretty deep basketball team, and I just think that the zone is going to be a bit of a head scratcher for Rick Stansbury's team tonight. They don't see it a ton. They haven't been particularly good against it in general. I'm going to lean towards Utah here. I think they get the job done. I've liked West Kentucky, and it won't surprise me at all if they go in here and win. But I just think defense travels, and I think they're going to be coming out on top here in this.
9:30 at night, Jeff. 779, 780. Opened up at -2 as a favorite for Penn State versus the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Again, game played same spot, Madison Square Garden. -2.5 looks like across the board. Bovada showing up at -3, -105. But the good people at Intertops, Jeff, a little bit juiced here. -2.5, -115. Penn State has been tough, Jeff. You can call them the Road Warriors with a tough route going all the way through. Same thing could possibly be said for Western Kentucky as well. Now these two teams meet in Madison Square Garden. The point I brought up yesterday, Jeff, looking at Penn State only a couple weeks ago played in Madison Square Garden, looked very comfortable doing so. Going to probably stay at the same hotel, take the same bus route in there, used to the optics of Madison Square Garden and already being there. Do you think that plays at all into this basketball game with Mississippi State, Jeff, not playing in the Garden yet?
I would maybe a little bit, but this is a tough game, man. I don't have a real pick for this. I think it's a bit of a coin flip. I like both these teams' guards, Witherspoons and Stevens and Tony Carr. Really good guard play in this game. Without Mike Watkins, you kind of thought that Penn State would kind of just go away, but they've been very good in this tournament. They obviously, like you said, have that the experience of playing in the Garden. This is a total coin flip, Donnie. I don't think there's any betting value to it. Both teams are pretty good defensively. Both teams are from good conferences and have played good competition. The bright lights of Madison Square Garden can either bother you or you could thrive on stage like that. So for me, it's a toss-up. I have no feel. I definitely like the first game, but this one's a bit tougher.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. And you can get past all the motivation factors, and we're not in the NCAA tournament. These kids are excited. You already played a couple games. You see how motivated. You're going to tell me Western Kentucky, Penn State, Mississippi State, Utah haven't played motivated basketball throughout the NIT. Now you're on the big stage where you get treated like kings again. It's a lot of fun, national TV. You can actually go out and win a tournament and celebrate a pretty successful season. So these kids are dialed in and motivated. You're right. It is a tough one. The one matchup, we've been looking for Penn State to fold, as you said, not having your big guy down low. You're going to face some size here with Mississippi State. There's no question about that. We'll see how they can own up. But, hey, Penn State's run a tough route here throughout. They deserve to be here. Should be a tough game. But you're right. That 2.5 seems about right in this game because I don't see either team pulling away, and maybe a double-digit victory should be coming right down to the wire as well. NIT Final Four, Jeff. Closing the door on that. We'll see what happens tonight. We'll move it over to a quick look on the Final Four this weekend, Jeff, which you are flying out on Friday to head down there and also see you're going to be catching an NBA Action is Fantastic game as well. Full week of basketball for you, Jeff.
Yeah. We'll be at the Spurs Rocket game on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you to our people for getting us those tickets. We have people now, Donnie. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we no, I saw it on the schedule and I was thinking, hey, we'll try to get over to that. By the way, Donnie, I've been talking to some people down in San Antonio. They love the NBA down there. A lot of people, every time you mention basketball, all they talk about is the Spurs. They love their Spurs basketball down in San Antonio. It's a lot more like here. It's like, but again, I find it interesting because obviously here we have all sorts of
Mhm.
basketball, baseball, football, hockey. They have one team. It's the Spurs. So it makes pretty much total sense there in San Antonio. But yeah, they love their Spurs down there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a fun weekend. We'll be at both semifinals and the championship game. And I guess the goal, Donnie, is maybe a picture of Sister Jean. Is there anything you would like? Do you want a
Yeah,
souvenir or
why don't you,
anything?
Jeff? I need to see you on a boat in the Riverwalk. Like we need to see that happen. Down there just
On a
chilling.
boat?
Going around. Yeah, they have the little Riverwalk is I guess what's famous down there. Nice little areas,
Yes.
some eateries down there. Walk along the water. Get down there and have some fun, man.
Yes, I will be on the Riverwalk, and I don't know if they have boats, but I'll attempt to get on a boat, probably. Sure. I'll definitely do that for you. As far as the Final Four, Dottie, are we getting into picks today? What are we doing here?
Yeah, no, we'll just go over a couple things here. Opening lines, as you've seen, Jeff. Both of these, I mean, priced appropriately here. Both hovering around 5. It looks like Intertop showing -5.5 for Villanova over Kansas, and 5 even in Loyola and Michigan. Tough environments down there. And I did want to bring up like rooting interest, Jeff, since you're going down there. It's always fun to have. I mean, hey,
Yes.
look, we're gonna root on whoever we bet for. Don't get me wrong. But if you had to take that out of the equation, you said, you know what? Here's what I want to see. To me, if somehow Loyola gets past Michigan and gets into the final, I mean, look, you could say what you want about being a Cinderella story. There's no more Cinderella story about running through there, beating Michigan, and then having to beat Kansas or Villanova to the final. That wouldn't be a Cinderella story. That would be they're actually the best team in the country, and they didn't get lucky at all heading their way through because that's not an easy run for what they had to go through. The Tennessees, the Miamis, Kansas States. Now you're going to match up against Michigan and possibly Kansas or Villanova. I actually would like to see them get there. Similar, Jeff, that you like to bring up the Butler team that played Duke in the final. It was a lower scoring game, but it was fun to see Butler there, and they almost pulled it off with a miracle heave at the end. Give me Loyola in the final. Now, if I'm betting Michigan, I am going to root for Michigan, but I can't fault it, Jeff, if Loyola makes it to Monday night. It would be fun to watch to me.
Yeah, it definitely would, and obviously Loyola's been very good to me. I backed them probably over the last 3 games, I think. And look, I would love to see them. I'll be rooting for them down there. But I got to tell you, I think this is where it ends for Loyola. I think Michigan's a different animal than what they faced. And I don't know if offensively they are, but I think defensively Loyola will struggle in this game. This is a defense that will bother them. I think Mo Wagner will be a problem for Michigan for Loyola. I don't think while Krutwig is a very good defender, I think he, like many, will struggle with Wagner's mobility. Krutwig is one of those get down in the post, but again, you look on the offensive side, Krutwig will probably have some success against Wagner. To me, it's you know now you're facing now a top defense team. And Michigan has really improved, Donnie, on the defensive end. It'll be a fascinating game to watch. But yes, I am rooting for Loyola. I think a lot of people are. If you don't have a rooting interest, I'll be honest. I'm not going to go down there and root for Michigan or these other teams. Loyola's aside. I want to see them make a run. I just have a feeling this is where it's going to end for them.
Jeff, no money line wagers on Loyola getting the 5 would be a nice juicy price for you right there. You've been riding that train.
Yeah, but I don't particularly like the matchup for the Ramblers here. Hey, maybe that'll change as the week goes on, and you research a little bit more. But on the surface, on Tuesday, this looks like to me we're Michigan. I think it's Michigan Villanova in the final.
All right, Jeff. Another thing that keeps coming up here as we get farther and farther into tournaments is where they're going to play. We all know it's the big stage. That means cameras, extra reporters left and right. You know, you're going to be under siege, especially Loyola coming into town. They're going to want a piece of them. The national media, sit down. I want to call an interview here. We want Sister Jean here. We got to show up here. We're going to have a pep rally here. Everybody's going to be pulling on Loyola as that little school, and it's going to be a lot of fun. They play from the NBC, obviously during the season, not getting the same type of exposure as some of these other teams, but also want to talk about, Jeff, the bigger arena that now you're going to be in. The optics are going to change. No longer are you playing in a gym like in the Missouri Valley, where you might be playing in front of 5,000 to 7,000 people. Now you're going to get upwards of 65 to 70,000, and shooting in an arena where the backdrop is way extended behind, which we always like to talk about the games back in Jerry Road or any dome in particular that they play these Final Four games in. If you're not used to that, it may affect the three-point shooting teams. Jeff, do you buy into that at all for these games?
Yeah, I think all that stuff's important. I mean, I think depth perception and all that stuff. I actually had someone on my show, I think a year or two ago, that came on and talked about that. A friend of mine that he worked for sports science at the time, and he kind of chatted about some of that stuff. And yeah, I think it is important, but obviously I don't think either of these teams are adept to not being able to play in big situations. All these teams have at this point been able to do that. Yeah, I look into a little bit more, but it is a raised court and stuff like that. So obviously that has to be talked about. But I'd hope the teams get a little bit of the ability to go out and play a little bit and shoot around on the rims and stuff. It might be always a good place to do like first half unders and stuff like that, just because teams are going to be a little rusty. But I think Michigan Loyola will be a low scoring game to begin with. So that's an interesting point. Yeah, that's always important when you're playing in a stadium that might not be someone that they're used to.
And more TV timeouts, Jeff, in the Final Four as we get to the final stage. Always a lot of fun. If you think it's funny where, you can't make it to the under 16, or maybe they even move it up to the under 17 timeout now, where my favorite play in college basketball, Jeff, is when let's just say the team opens up on a 7-0 run. You call a timeout at, let's just say 16, no, 09. They inbound the ball. There's a quick foul within 10 seconds.
Yes.
They go back to commercial. One of my favorite things. And also, Jeff, I can't be the only one that does this in college basketball or gets upset about it. It's hard enough in pressure situations to shoot free throws, right? Why do they allow a TV timeout, Jeff, when a player gets fouled in a shooting motion, goes to the bench, sits on the bench for 3 to 4 minutes, and then has to come back and shoot the free throws? I never understand it, and it seems like it affects the game way more than it should. Can't you just have a little out that says on non-free throw shooting fouls, we can certainly go to commercial, but why go to the free throw line and then pull the kid off for a 4-minute commercial and then come back and have him shoot free throws? Come on.
I have no idea. That's weird, and I do hate that timeout where you take a timeout at 8:04. You go to a break, you come back, you run a play, and then they go to another commercial. Yeah, it's brutal.
Like, can't it count for two? Like, why isn't that the TV timeout right there? Isn't that what it's for? Like, hey, we need to take a break here, and then let's extend it. Can't they communicate and be like, all right, let's push the next timeout back at least 2.5 minutes, and we'll fit it in so it's not something egregious like you throw the ball in, it gets tipped out of bounds. Hey, we're headed back to break. Come on, man.
Yeah, these officials don't budge at all either. It's like if it's not at 8 or lower or 12 or under, they don't do it. Like if it's 12:01, they'll literally come back and go. It's all about the money. Obviously, they want the commercials, but basketball is still fairly fast to begin with. But yeah, it's happened a lot over the last couple rounds. There's constant timeouts where we're going to watch commercials again and again and again.
All right, yeah, so that was a nice little quick look at the Final Four. Again, we'll cap these games as they get closer, but, I mean, I can't see that much movement. It's going to be a lot of action on these games. More likely to me, Jeff, these games settling in at 5.5 or going to 4.5. Most people, as they wait late in the week, they're going to be taking the dog in this instance. I'd be more likely to see 4.5s to me than I would 5.5s in both of these games. So we'll see how those check out. Last section we'll do tonight, Jeff, would be a little bit of off-topic action here. We'd like to slide that down. First thing, Jeff, in hockey, interesting moves. I like to see stuff like this. The Vegas Knights, Jeff, make the playoffs in their first year in existence. Kudos to the Vegas Knights out there. That's pretty impressive because most years, Jeff, expansion teams come in, they usually suck for a couple of years. Not the Vegas Knights.
No, they're playing well, the Golden Knights. I've said before I do have a future on the Golden Knights. I bet it a while ago. I think Ian Cameron talked about it, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna get on this. And yeah, it's nice. It's awesome to see. Usually expansion teams do suck. I think they're the most successful expansion team ever. What a great start for those hockey fans out in that area. They've had a good crowd all year. They're going back. They're going to the playoffs, Donnie. How about that? And hopefully going to run to a Stanley Cup title.
Yeah, and hopefully by next year also they'll change the name of the team to the official name, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, not just the Vegas Knights, which is ridiculous and sounds kind of half-assed, but that's another topic for another day.
I'd
Jeff, the
like
WCC. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'd like to see the Flyers and Golden Knights in the championship, so Stanley Cup final.
Will Ian Cameron be at any of those games in the Stanley Cup final if that takes place, Jeff?
I don't know. Maybe he will.
Jeff, WCC changing schedules for more bids. I agree with this, and I think these lower level conferences should be doing this. You don't need an 18-game round robin WCC, so Gonzaga can throw haymakers at St. Mary's and then play, cream puffs the rest of the way. Which, hey, I am underselling the WCC. There are some good basketball teams there, but we know where this is going to. St. Mary's and Gonzaga. Gonzaga usually makes a tournament just because they're good. And they're going to play a little bit better outside. The questionable scheduling has been with St. Mary's. Now you're going to have an additional 2 games for each team in that conference. You have to go out and maybe play a home and home with a top, 75 type team to try to build your resume. I completely agree with this. I think more lower level, non-power 5. You don't need to have is there any reason, Jeff, we have a round robin in the WCC to make sure everybody plays each other twice because it's so important for the scheduling when one of 2 teams wins this every year? No, because if you're going to make it to the conference championship or the conference tournament, you're going to have to win it to move on and get that automatic bid sealed as opposed to an at-large bid. I love this for the West Coast Conference. I hope other teams follow along with this as well. Play somebody good out of conference. Let's not have that we're on the bubble when we're 31-1 anymore. Go out, play a decent team, put your way in there with not an automatic bid, but an at-large bid. I like it. How about you, Jeff?
And leave this as a lesson to you, Randy Bennett. This is good for you. This means you can go out and schedule better. And so you won't be complaining every season when your team is 30-5 and doesn't make the tournament. Well, now you can go out and do that. Now, also, Donnie, what this also allows, though, is conference approval for guarantee games at an opponent's venue. So make sure, Randy, you don't read that rule and you stay away from that one because that's not going to help you. Going to Coppin State and paying the Eagles $1 million to play you. Go out and play. Go to some of these Pac-12 places and play those guys. This is going to give you a much better opportunity to make the tournament. This is helping you. Make sure you adhere to it. Gonzaga already does it. They don't have to. They don't have to schedule better. They already schedule good enough. But yeah, a lot of these conferences, I don't see the need to have every single team allowed to participate in the conference tournament. Look, if you don't, if you're the last 2 teams in the conference, there's a reason you were the last teams in the conference. They shouldn't be getting benefited by getting to go to the. It's a waste of money, Donnie. I mean, it's a waste of money to fly them in.
Yeah, they're all going to go to the conference tournament. That's not the
Well, they
issue
should
there.
have
But
cut
whether or
that.
not where the seedings would be, like, oh my God, we have to actually play both St. Mary's and get if you're, let's just say, give Portland or whatever, right? Oh my God, like we got a bad break. We have to play both Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Well, you're not getting an at-large bid anyway going through your conference. What's it matter if they pound you 2 or 3 times a year? You're still going to make it to the conference championship tournament no matter what. I love this, and the little schools can't be mad saying, well, this year we got to play Gonzaga. Next year we don't. We're going to get lucky. You're not making it in the tournament anyway.
I just think I know this has nothing to do, and they're not going to do that, but they should. There should be some modifications to how many teams get in. Certain conferences have done that, and it's been better for that. As far as Donnie, quickly, some of these coaches, I think certain. I saw like Ryan Odom at UMBC signed a deal there to stay at UMBC, which I
Yes.
found to be interesting. I would have thought he would surely have moved on from there. There are definitely some guys out there that I think will move on. We'll see what happens. There was supposed to be a meeting at Temple University the other night for that stuff, but they're not going to make a move there. I think we all know that. Fran Dunphy will be the coach next year, and more people will not buy season tickets, and more people won't go to the games, and Temple will become more and more, mysterious in this town. But hey, you know what? It's okay because he's a nice guy. So that'll be that, Donnie.
No, yeah, it's interesting, but I still bring it. Like, imagine like coming up the court, breaking the press. Jalen Brunson dishing to Quentin Rose for a wide open three, and getting the bigs, involved, and it could have been a whole different story then on North Broad that took a complete turn. And in Villanova's favor, Jeff, is Villanova where let's take Jalen Brunson off there and throw in Colin Gillespie as he's running the point now, as opposed to Jalen Brunson. A lot of dominoes, to say the least, went down when Jalen Brunson was out of Temple and into Villanova. One man's trash is one man's treasure at this point.
I don't know if you heard, Donnie. Rick Brunson was
I
on
did.
the
Might be
Fanatic
missed, yeah.
yesterday, and yeah, he was sending shots basically at Temple. Like, my kid goes and plays for a coach that knows how to use him and stuff like that, and all sorts of stuff. Donnie, before we end the show today, I wanted to bring this story up. It's kind of a nice story as baseball gets going here. Nevis Coleman, Donnie, 49 years old. He spent more than 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Will indeed, Donnie, get his job back with the Chicago White Sox just in time for the opening day season. According to people, he was released recently. You imagine like 23 years without doing something you didn't commit. Uh,
Yeah,
Amazing.
weird story too. I didn't get all the details in it, but it looks like he confessed early on to the rape and I believe it was like a rape and murder in his house in his basement. That it looks like the DNA proved that it was not him. But a weird thing there where it's I guess you don't have good lawyered up or you get tricked into something. But I don't know. I would like to read a little bit more details on why he confessed to the crime early on when he didn't do it. But I mean, 23 years behind bars and you finally get back into the open world. That's pretty interesting.
And he'll get a job. He'll have a job. So good for him. Nevis Coleman. Always nice to see people. Again, it's a fairly brutal system where you get 23 years in jail, and they basically give you a couple of dollars and say, "Here, uh, good luck. Take it easy." Well, what about the last 23 years of my life that I've lost? You gonna do anything for me? No. Well, we're letting you out. I mean, that's enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of a fucked up system, but um, Donnie, anything else today before we wrap up the show? Greg
No, I think
Bird.
that's about it. Yeah. Yeah,
Let's
the
mention
Greg
that
Bird
quick.
surgery, and that's close to your heart right there, Jeff. One of
Yeah,
those guys that just his body is just made of like brittleness, where
glass.
no matter what happens, all the talent in the world, Jeff. It's not even injuries where it's like, hey, like it was a bang play at first base and he broke his leg in a collision. These are just injuries that are just coming up. Like I just swing the bat and like my left foot gives out and it hurts again. It's just amazing. Some people just can't get the break, Jeff.
No, it never ends with Greg Bird. He was injured last year, didn't play at all. Now this year, it's happening again. It's annoying, but hey, look, now Tyler Austin could come in and play. I like I thought they made some really underrated depth moves. Going out and getting Brendan Drury. You brought in Neil Walker, who can still do some good things at this level. It's not the worst thing in the world because listen, when he's been in games, he's been horrible, Greg Bird. So, other than his first year or so, but yeah, it's the same old story with Greg Bird. Glass Bird is more of his name. He's made of glass. Yeah, very very irritating, Donnie.
No, not about wrap it up here today for the right side of campus. As the week goes on, obviously we'll take a little bit closer look at the Final Four, but not much going on right now. Major League Baseball, Jeff, right on the horizon. We'll start having fun with that, getting that back in our everyday lives. But it's kind of hard when you're breaking down the only game of the night being San Francisco and North Texas or the Final Four here in the NIT. It's winding down. It's been a lot of fun on the season, Jeff. So it is what it is, and we'll have some fun as it moves forward throughout the lazy summer months.
Yeah, this is where it kind of get this is the tough part of the season. This and like the All-Star break and stuff like that. But Yeah, so that'll be that for today. Thanks to Johan for producing the show. Thanks to all the listeners for joining us today. I'm not on the air for the rest of the day. Neither is Donnie. So we'll be
Mhm.
back tomorrow with the round table. Looking forward to that. We'll have the Premier League punters tomorrow as well. Come up with other things. And then we'll finish out the week here on the show. Everyone have a great day. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We will be back later tomorrow with the By the way, I'm gonna be on Utah tonight, Donnie. That's the pick that I'm on.
All right,
Other
there
than
you go.
that, we'll wrap it up. Have a great day. Bye bye.